Welcome to Seltzer Squad, the podcast about staying sober in the city, with your hosts, Kate Zander and Jess Valentine.
Hey squad, Kate here. I just wanted to give you a little update in case you missed it that I and Lori Harlan of Sober Slumber Parties and Get Connected AF are hosting Seltzer Squad's first ever in-person retreat in upstate New York in June of 2023. So if you'd like to join us, all the details, dates, information are on the Seltzer Squad webpage. You can find the link in our bio on Instagram. It's seltzersquad.com/June retreat. So I hope you sign up and I'll see you there. See you guys in June.
Hi, squad. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I want to talk about today things that are annoying in sobriety because I'm feeling like a little bit annoyed today for various reasons, and I decided to take it out on sobriety.
Nice.
Is there anything in particular that annoys you in sobriety?
Oh, gosh. Depending on the day, lots of things. Top of my list is probably labels. You know, it's pretty divisive in the community sometimes. Like,
what do you mean labels?
Are you an alcoholic?
Oh, yeah, that is a trigger.
Do you have to call yourself an alcoholic? Like, are you obligated? Is there some kind of pact that we sign when we stop drinking that we have to? I'm very uncomfortable with that term. And I think partly because I've never been to AA, I just don't have any ownership in it. It doesn't feel good to me. I don't feel like I get anything out of it. It brings a lot of shame, and I'm alcohol free. I don't even consider myself sober, really. I'm alcohol free.
Interesting.
But there are strong feelings about that.
Yeah, I feel weird sometimes about using the label sober because I partake in weed sometimes. Like, I will take an edible. I will occasionally smoke a joint. And I don't really feel like I need to like say I'm Cali sober also, which feels stupid. Right. But I do feel like I am sober. I don't know.
Ish. Yeah.
I guess. I mean, that's such a spectrum, right? Like, do you have a problem with sugar? Like, do you have are you a sex addict? Like, there's so many things that could fall under that umbrella that, you know, for me, it's like my problem was alcohol, and I'm sober, and I have like a sobriety date. And I feel like I feel less, I think, emotional about the label alcoholic than you do, maybe.
Yes, I think you do.
I'll throw it around. Like, I don't really care if you want it. If that like helps you, good for you. I don't feel like it was a milestone for me in my recovery. I think internally I had to obviously come to the place where I knew I had a problem with alcohol. I don't know that I felt like alcoholic fit, but like also, sure, if that's what I needed to do to like get into the door of wherever I needed to go, sure, tell me I have that problem. Right. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I totally own the problem. And I've had a lot of conversations along these lines. I own the problem. I know I can't drink. Doesn't work for me. I don't plan to ever try to moderate. Like, this is the way my life is now. I don't drink alcohol, but I cringe at the word alcoholic. I don't want to be called that. I would never call myself that. And I feel a little defensive when people try to paint me into that corner. So
has that
maybe,
ever happened?
Maybe that's,
Like what?
Yeah. I mean, I think people like clear definitions. And so I think people want to know how to label you. They want to know what to call you. They want to, especially if they weren't like maybe part of your life when you were actively drinking, they don't really know, well, what was it like? And why did you quit? And all those other bullshit questions that you don't want to answer either. But yeah, I mean, I think people ask, oh, are you an alcoholic? And I'd be like, bitch, please.
What do you say? I say yeah, because I feel like if they're bold enough to ask me that question, then they get to sit with the weirdness of what happens after I say yes. Like, yeah.
Well, you know,
well, fuck you
you're
too.
further out than I am. I'm going to add that to my list of responses. Fuck you.
Yeah, sure am. Because then they feel awkward. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't embraced the awkward, really. I would prefer to avoid it. So I would just be like, you don't want to see me drunk, or I met my quota, or, you know, some stupid response.
Yeah. I think if I'm feeling like if I'm insecure amongst the crowd, I think I still say yes. And then I just feel shame. Then I just
See, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Sometimes I feel like, yeah. And like, you feel weird about it. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll feel weird about it.
Yeah. I'll take that shame back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take that right back. Thank you very much. Okay, fair enough. Labels, they are annoying. They're always annoying. I feel like you're right. People like always want to categorize, label, and like stereotype because it makes you feel more comfortable to like,
Yes.
especially if it's something that's like taboo or uncomfortable, then you don't have to do any mental work of like living in the gray area with me. You could just be like, oh, alcoholic. Fine. Okay.
Yes.
Moving on.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is, and this comes back to everything in sobriety, people want to know, how are you different from me? Oh, are you an alcoholic? Because maybe I have a drinking problem, but I'm not an alcoholic. And that keeps that distance that I think makes people feel safer if they're not ready to acknowledge that they maybe have a drinking problem.
Yeah,
because
it's
you
almost
get
like
that
an
a lot
issue
when
with
people
humility. It's like, I'm human enough to say that I have a problem with this. And like, I don't care what the label is. I know that I have a problem with it. Whatever label makes you feel more comfortable about my problem. Okay, fine. But then it's like, do you feel better than me?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think in the situations I can think of, that's, I think what people were trying to get at was like, you must drink a whole lot more than me because my drinking is not problematic. You know, you get that kind of explanation from people like, oh, I don't have a drinking problem. I don't drink every day.
Yeah.
I don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Good segue.
Yeah.
I don't drink every day. I don't have to drink. People have all these like explanations they want to give you. And you're like, I didn't ask. I don't care.
Right.
Like, your journey is
Good
your
for
own. It doesn't
you,
matter.
Susan.
But I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that annoys me is if somebody asks and then immediately starts talking about themselves and like measuring themselves up against my answer, then I'm like,
yes.
I don't know what the fuck to tell you, but it sounds like you have a problem too.
What I'm seeing is a red flag.
Yeah.
Big red flag.
I wish I had the balls to say that though. What I'm hearing is a red flag from what you're saying to me. And I will go take my seltzer and get the fuck away from you now.
Because
it's usually in a casual setting, right?
Way. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's like you meet a new group of people and they'll be like, yeah, that's true, I guess. I guess. I mean, you don't want to be like,
you're not going to come at them like that.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? That's what I should say from now on. How does that make you feel? Do you think you have a problem? How does that make you feel? But yeah, I think especially if I'm with a new group of people and it comes up and somebody asks why I'm not drinking, I'm like already a little annoyed because I'm like, why does it matter to you? Why are you asking me? You don't know me like that. And then that leads to, again, are you measuring your habits against my choices and making yourself feel some kind of way, which now you're making me feel some kind of way. And that's annoying to me because I don't fucking know you. Okay. So yes, that's the whole explaining yourself when you meet somebody is definitely on my list. Gremlins are annoying. Gremlins. I just put gremlins as on my list because even like people half in the bag now annoy me.
Yeah.
Like, you would definitely be around if you're sober and you're around people that are like hammered. Yes, those gremlins are annoying, but even people that like are like a little too silly in their drinking, I'm like, enough. I'm out of here. I'm annoyed by that now.
Same.
I was more tolerable about it in the beginning, but now I'm like, nah, this is not fun. You are not being fun.
Agree. And yes, I have a big event tonight. I'm already like pre-angry about it.
What do you mean? Like, are you like, I gotta leave by 8:30?
Yeah, I'm planning my departure. I'm like hand-picking who I'm going to be annoyed with because they probably are drinking too much. I'm going to try really hard not to count drinks. That's a thing that I do. You're on number 4, Sally.
I do with my partner, but I don't, like maybe like friend. I'll be like, all right, that's their, 4th one or whatever. I got to get the fuck out of here soon. But the day that we went to the city and it was SantaCon, I immediately was like, I'm already annoyed and these people haven't even really started drinking. And I was already like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't their fault, but I was just annoyed about the fact that I didn't know that that's what was going to happen. And then we got on the train and all the Santas creepy crawled on with us. And I was like, oh no, we're trapped for the next however many hours with these unpredictable people. And
Right.
so I'm annoyed.
But we didn't get puked on. So
No, but remember I said we have to leave before like the night takes a turn. And so like under the cloak of darkness, we only have a limited amount of time to like get back without all the people puking and being loud and fighting and giving us Omicron on the train. So I'm glad that we made it back with ample time. Okay, also on my list are the people that say you're boring now. They annoy me.
Oh, yes, that is a good one.
Because I'm like, again, you usually don't know me like that. And if you do know me like that, we are not friends anymore.
Right. You're dead to me.
Yes.
Yes. That I think that's particularly troublesome for introverts because it's easy for us to convince ourselves that we need, I mean, I have social anxiety, so it's easy for me to convince myself I need alcohol to loosen up, to feel comfortable,
I did.
to make small talk. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. To make small talk, all of that. And so when you remove that, you have to learn to navigate life raw, like feeling exposed all the time. And so I think knowing that all those feelings that you're feeling, and then somebody tells you you're fucking boring. Oh,
you're like, fight me.
Yeah. We're taking that shit outside.
And in my head, you have the imaginary conversation where you're like, you're so fucking fun. Like, it was really fun watching you like cry last week and fucking shit your pants, or whatever. Like, not shit your pants, but it was like fun watching you be hungover for 3 days. Like that, you're boring too. It's boring that you do the same things and you think that you need to. I mean,
sitting in a dark bar with the same people every weekend and feeling like shit the next day, that's boring. That's basic. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But it does hit, it hits differently, I think, being an introvert and having someone tell you you're boring or you're too quiet. Are you not having fun? I'm like, fuck off. I'd rather be on my couch.
Yes.
Like, it's not good.
It's also the same kind of people that, like, if you are trying to eat healthier and then, like, someone's eating not healthy food in front of you and you're like, no, thanks. And then they're like, oh, you're no fun anymore. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? This has nothing to do with me. Like, this has everything to do with you. And, like, me making a healthier choice for myself is making you feel some kind of way. It doesn't make me boring. So, yeah, I get it, like, immediately defensive when I'm like, am I, though? Maybe I always was boring. Who cares?
Yeah, and I'd rather be boring than like pissing my pants.
Yeah.
If those are the two options to choose from, I'll go. I'm good with boring. I mean, it took me a long time to get to this point, but I really feel like boring is peaceful. And I think people are.
I have a hard time with that sometimes, but it can be boring, sometimes. But that's also, I think, being emotionally regulated can feel boring because there's no chaos.
Yeah.
So sure, I might be boring because I've been in therapy for fucking 5 years and like I'm not bringing we're not trauma bonding anymore. I'm not bringing my drama to the table, and then we're like avoiding our problems and getting hammered all the time.
That's
and
a good point.
You're right. I'm a lot more boring now because I like have my shit together, kind of. So
emotional maturity. That's what you're seeing. You can call it boring.
Yes.
But it took a lot of work to get here.
Yeah. And it feels boring most of the time because you're used to thriving in chaos and survival mode and creating drama for yourself. And that was a lot of early sobriety, is it feels boring because it's not dramatic. Like I had somebody ask me what my relationship was like recently, what my relationship is like because I don't drink anymore. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't know. I don't honestly remember the last time that we had a fight where we were genuinely yelling at each other.
Yes.
In years and years and years. Like I don't. And sure, that can seem boring. It doesn't mean that we don't have problems, but it also means that, like, I don't know, I'm able to handle adult conversations without getting, like, fucking losing my mind or needing to escape hard feelings.
Yes. Conflict can be conflict without being, like, level 10.
Yes.
DEFCON.
Yeah. And I still have, like, a lot of anger issues, but I'm able to, like, regulate and cope in a healthier way. And I think that is the point. That's, like, the breakthrough is, like, the feelings don't go away. The discomfort never goes away completely. You're just able to deal with it in a less maladaptive way. That's not going to like fuck my life
I'm curious
up.
about angry Kate. I have a hard time picturing her.
Oh,
maybe we'll meet someday.
She was out a couple times this week. Yeah? I mean, something going on with school right now made me really mad. Like really very, very, very mad where like my boundaries were being pushed and I was feeling taken advantage of, and I like woke up to a bunch of text messages and I was just like, I went from like peaceful to like a 12, and I had to go to the fucking gym, which I didn't want to do. I was like annoyed with that, but I went to the gym and my trainer was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, I'm mad. And I like told him the situation. We talked about it and he was like, I was like, I don't think you've ever seen me mad before, because I usually like, I can let pretty much anything go. And I was like, I know I'll be able to let this go, but like right now I'm mad and I want to be mad. And so, yeah, I think I can get escalated. When I get really mad in like the moment, TJ calls it thrasher Kate, because I will like I will throw something, I will break something, I will yell.
Wow.
But I don't, it's like I need to get it out, and then I'm never like hurting anybody, but it's like, yeah, if
I'm picturing you at the gym, like bench pressing 250.
yeah,
like,
and I was like, that's what yeah, so that day I was like, he was like making me do this shit on the rower, and I hate it. And I was like, I was just saying like, fuck you, like as I was rowing, like, fuck you. And then I like left and I was like, look at me making healthy decisions and taking my anger to the gym. And I'm like,
right?
old Kate would have been like, ha, you're boring. And I was,
Burn the gym down.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, rage is still an emotion that I can access. And I think it's, that's also just being able to, now I know when I get mad, usually it's because my needs are being unmet in some way, and it's usually my responsibility. Like I'm mad that I wasn't able to like create a boundary, and somebody is like taking advantage or, doing something that is pressing me in some kind of way. And so, yeah, then I get mad and I have to like victimize myself and then like let it sit for a couple of days. And then I'm usually like, okay, fine. I mean, that's annoying in sobriety in and of itself, but in a good way. So yeah. Rage Kate.
That's good.
She comes out.
But that's a lot of progress you've made. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's annoying. And Hambone actually brought something up about trauma bonding with friends, and he's like, many of my drinking friends were trauma bonded, and I was like, holy fuck, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I didn't either till you said that earlier, and it's still like in my head, like, wait a minute.
Like, oh my God, how many of my relationships are trauma bonded? And is that why we're not close anymore? Or is that why things have changed? Or is that why like those are the friends that like aren't happy for you when you succeed? Is it because you're bonded in trauma? And, that also brings like a set loneliness, right? Because if you can solve your own problems and you can only come to the table like to show up as a true friend, can you find other friends that can meet you where you are and not bring, I want to be able to like call you as a friend and be able to bring a problem to you, but I don't want to have to like we used to lay it on each other, right? At the bar, you would like lay all this shit on someone, you would escalate and like fucking put all that shit on somebody else, and then they would stay at the bar longer than they intended to because you're in crisis, and then all of it, like, and so now it's just different. And I even find myself like, I used to be like hyper texting everyone in my phone book whenever I had a problem, like, oh my God, can you like, and just putting that on them. And now I realize like, oh, I'm annoying, I need to shut the fuck up and like deal with my problem, take it to the gym.
And same for triangulating. Like if I get mad at somebody, I'd text somebody else and be like, I need 100%. You to be mad at them too on my behalf
immediately right now. Stop what you're doing and like pick up this anger. Yes. But I think culturally, like, we're taught kind of to trauma bond. So, like, what examples in media do we see? Like, it's like Real Housewives. It's, you know what I mean? Think about like pop culture. It's all trauma bondy in nature. And like, sure, there is, something for, like, I think about high school, like your friends from high school, your friends from college when you're really trying to figure things out. And for me, it was like my friends were everything. So many of my friends were trauma bonds, especially after my mom died, because that was all like I could manage, was like every feeling was, me trying to navigate trauma and then finding friends who were in a similar shitty situation. And so it's okay to like outgrow that, Yeah,
it's funny you bring that up. My daughter is in high school and she recently befriended a girl who doesn't have a lot of friends and has a lot of problems. And the girl trauma dumps like on the reg daily. And my daughter's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle it. And I don't know the right thing to tell her either. I mean, I'm proud of her that she's reached out to this girl who's clearly in distress and she's in a bad place. But then also you're 15 and you're not a therapist and you
Right.
can't support her the way she needs. So yeah, I'm currently trying to help her navigate those boundaries and friendship, and it's complicated even when you're sober. It's
Totally.
hard.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because that also brings me to something else that is on the list, which is people that like seem to need help but like also don't want to take it. And that's just kind of like controversial in sobriety
Yeah.
because, you know, people have reached out to me, people have reached out to you, and they like dump all this stuff on you and then want to know how to get help, and you will go out of your way, and then they don't actually want to change, or I don't know. I don't want to like trigger anybody, but like also this annoys me a lot, and I know that this is part of a me thing and part of a them thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have to tread lightly here because I lived in that space for a long time. Like, yes, I know I have a drinking problem. No, I'm not ready to acknowledge it yet. And I don't think I reached out to anybody during that time because I was pretty, trying to keep it on the down low. But there is a level of frustration where, if somebody invites you to go somewhere and wants to have a conversation and it's clearly about their drinking, and so you offer support and you provide some tools and you try to do what you can, and then they're like, yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
do you
come
think
back
it
when it is.
feels annoying because does it feel like a personal slight to you?
I don't know. I'm not sure where the frustration comes from. Maybe, I mean, part of it's just you can see things differently than they can. You can't see it when you're in it.
Sure, yeah.
And so being a step removed, you can be like, you need to quit. I know you need to quit. You need to quit. You know you need to quit. But so I think part of it's frustration. And then like, am I not a good spokesperson for sobriety? Like, did I not sell it strong enough?
I feel like I was this person in so many areas of my life. Like, I maybe not sobriety though, because I did it like under the cover of night and didn't want anyone to know. But
Right.
I feel like I've for sure done this about everything else. And it's like, if you don't like the answer, then you're like, yeah, I'm going to try all these other things.
Right.
Instead.
Keep shopping. You'll find something that does it. Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, why I get annoyed is because I feel like I wasted my time. But again, that's like a me thing because I wasn't clear about my boundaries of what I am willing to do and what I'm not willing to do.
Yeah, but what would a boundary look like there? Like, I can't have lunch with you because I don't think you're serious about getting sober. Like, that feels callous.
Fair.
Come back to me when you're serious about your sobriety.
Well, and this is why I feel like I credit I remember reading in Laura McCowan's book, her first book, about, she would go out and get drunk in the AA. People would like still pick her up and take her to a meeting. And I'm like, God bless those people, because I don't know that would have been me. And I don't know if that's the right answer or the wrong answer, but like, God bless you. I'm not sure. That would have been my ass picking you up again.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have it in me.
I think on some level, I feel like if you wasted my time, that's disrespectful. But again, this is addiction. And so it's a fine line of something I realized when I'm like in therapy training now is I tell my clients, this is your time. You can lie to me. You can lie to yourself. Like it's your time. Like if you want to like blow smoke up my ass, we can shoot the shit. If you want to work on something, I'm here for that. And so I think that I set that boundary, but I also think that now that I've learned how to maybe not take it home with me, that I feel better about if I wasted an hour, then I wasted an hour. I think before I used to get over invested in part of my self-worth became you getting sober also. And so if you stumbled or didn't make the decision I wanted you to make, then I would kind of hold that against you.
Yeah.
On some
level.
That's
a good point. Yeah.
Whereas now I'm like, I'm cool with myself. If you're looking to me for advice, I'm going to tell you the advice. And if you don't take it, I'm not going to spend too much time getting into this if you're not willing to kind of show me some level of commitment to yourself to want the better thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
because
I think
otherwise
that's it. I think that's
just like,
the balance.
It's like sobriety 101 over and over and over and over again. Yeah. And then you just kind of wait for them to hit a bottom or figure it out themselves or be in enough pain to where they want to like actually do it.
Right.
And that's what I tell.
And it would be nice if we could, help prevent that.
Totally.
But I think that's what it takes.
But also, like, how many times did somebody tell you the way and you just were like, I don't want to do it that exact way, so I'm leaving this. And then you came back around and were like, okay, I gotta do this
Yeah.
now.
You're wrong. You don't know me. I'll be back in 6 months.
It makes me think of that Demi
We'll
Lovato
try it again.
documentary where Elton John is like, yeah, no, that's not how you do sobriety. Like, I do not. And he ended up being right. And so I think about that a lot but again, it was like, that was clear. Like, this is the way you think that might work, but I'm telling you, this is the way. So sometimes you have to just wait for people to figure it out on their own. But I think the times I've been the most annoyed is because I have overinvested and attached like my self-worth to their outcome. And then when it didn't live up to my expectation, I was annoyed. That's like, I think, the theme of my life, honestly.
Pattern. You see
like,
the pattern
yeah,
here.
outside of sobriety excluded, whatever. What about you? What else you got on your list?
Mommy drinking culture. Super annoying.
I'm not even a mom, and I'm super annoyed by this.
Yeah. And I feel like there's got to be a bell curve, right? Like it's getting worse, but at some point it's got to plateau and then like drop off. But the fucking t-shirts and all the glasses with expressions, and it's cringy and it's stupid and it's demeaning to motherhood. And I think it's insulting to your children to imply, to put your baby in a onesie that says, I'm the reason mommy drinks. That's not fucking funny,
That's like little T trauma. That's where it
Right.
starts.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's a huge revenue generating culture, but it's annoying.
Yeah, to prey on vulnerable people's stress. Yeah.
Yeah. And it allows people to hide in plain sight. If you can make jokes about this might be vodka in my water or in my coffee cup, then you're deflecting the truth. That maybe you do have a drinking problem.
Yeah,
maybe
might
you
as well
shouldn't
say
be drinking.
cry for help on your mug.
Yes. Like maybe you shouldn't be drinking at little Johnny's soccer game. But if you can make a joke and put a sticker on it, then it'll be funny.
Poor little Johnny.
Right?
I feel insulted as a child-free person because every mom is like, you'll never get it. Like, you'll never know the stress that I'm under. And I'm like, you're right. But I also know that, like, my mom didn't get fucking hammered and she had 3 kids.
Right.
And, like, she somehow fucking survived. Like, I don't know, Lindsay. Like, I don't know. She did. You're right. Like, I will never know the depths to which it takes to raise a child, nor do I want to. However, I know that it is possible without alcohol. Because my friends say
all
so.
day.
Yeah, because my friends say so.
Right.
Which leads me to also controversial. I feel like all these, I've said that about all of them. When sobriety is your whole personality.
Oh. I feel attacked, Kate.
Shots fired. But it's also like, that is what it feels like in the beginning.
I mean, I feel like there has to be that transition from like being a drunken idiot to being like a sober person whose whole life is sobriety. Like, I think if there's a more graceful way to make that transition, I don't know what it is.
Me
because
either.
I did not make it myself. Granted, my first year was pretty secretive, but I was reading all the books, listening to all the podcasts, taking all the classes, it was all sober all the time because I felt like I had to be completely immersed in that culture. But yeah, even now I feel a little bit attacked by that statement. Like, how much of my personality is my sobriety? Is it too much? I don't know.
Well, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with like the people who make their mental illness their whole personality also. Like, it's hand in hand with that, where it's like, is that a niche? Like, I don't know. Can you have a conversation without it's like being vegan.
Right. Yes.
And like, I acknowledge that I am in sobriety. I am a sober person. I talk about being sober on here to the niche people. But I feel like I see many times in early sobriety, and maybe it's because we want a pat on the back, like a public pat on the back. Like, is that why? I didn't start the podcast when I was newly sober. So it was very much it was like a very deeply hidden part of my identity. So I don't know, even the podcast I was sort of like hiding for a while. Now I'm definitely much more, I guess, out about it to the sobriety crowd, but like I genuinely don't typically bring that up in conversation, nor my mental illnesses. And maybe it's
So
because
what
I'm insecure, but I don't know.
What percentage of your current personality would you say is sobriety?
That's a hard question. That's hard to answer because every part of my personality is because of my sobriety, but not necessarily is defined by my sobriety, but not necessarily like leading with sobriety. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't know that you can quantify something like that in numbers. I was just curious if you thought like 10%.
Maybe.
I would say it was a small fraction at this point.
Yeah. I don't know, because I think that, you know, now that I'm like changing my career because of this. So sure, like I think it's a lot of my identity, but maybe not necessarily a lot of my personality.
Yeah, that's a good distinction because there's a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it's,
I hope my personality
maybe
isn't
I'm
sobriety.
right. Like maybe this is annoying to me. Well, okay. So I'll bring up the example of what I call the who farted people. Have I told you this?
Okay. No, I can't wait to hear it.
Okay. So there are people that annoy me. Okay. So you remember when you were in school and like somebody would fart either audibly or you could smell it and
Yeah.
everyone could smell it, but inevitably there would be a person, a male, a female, somebody outside of that spectrum who would say, "Who farted? I smell a fart." And it's like, we all smell the fart, Jacob. But then you see whoever did fart wants to die on the inside,
Yes.
right? And I always hated the who farted people. I usually call them who farted girls because I'm usually talking about girls. So it's just like people pointing out the obvious when it's to somebody's detriment, right? And so I sometimes feel like the people who lead with their mental illness or lead with their veganism or lead with like a niche element of personality, they're like who farted people or pick me girls, you know? It's like that's all that there is. And like mental illness and sobriety to me are very serious and not necessarily like something that I lead with, because I also feel like I have to have some level of trust with a person before I like throw that all out there. I realize that this might seem hypocritical on a podcast, but sometimes it feels, however, I feel like I'm just talking to you and we don't really know if anyone's listening.
They're probably not.
Exactly.
We're fine.
So that is annoying to me, the who farted people in sobriety. It's like you can't, it's almost like they're forcing a trauma bond on you because that you have to deal with like, oh, I have, you know, bipolar, I'm ADHD. And like, yes, you may be those things and those are very serious things, but it's almost like, is that an excuse? Is there anything else we can talk about? You know, what books do you like to read? Like, I don't know. I always feel like, where do we go from here? I'm sorry that happened to you. Are you seeing a therapist? Yeah. You're not okay. Like, I don't really know what to do. I'm like, am I solving this for you? How do I don't know. So that annoys me on some level. Controversial, sorry. Sorry if you're a who farted girl. Just stop saying who farted.
That's on you.
It's hurting somebody's feelings. Somebody who farted wants to die because you just called them out.
They were seeking anonymity and you just called them out. So thank you.
Maybe I was the farter. Maybe that's why I'm like uber sensitive. I don't know. But even like my husband, like he'll be like, "Oh, I smell," and I'm like, "Don't be a who farted person. We all smell the fart." I farted. It was me. I'm the problem.
You have 3 cats. You should never have to take responsibility for that.
I don't like the who farted people. All right.
How do you feel about friends who are overly cautious of your sobriety?
Annoying. Am I getting my period?
Annoyed.
Maybe that's why I'm annoyed today.
This is PMS.
There's a balance, right? Because you want them to, I don't know. There's a lot of levels to this. Are they sober? Are they not? I don't know. Are they?
I mean, I think on some level it's respectful to display concern, but also I'm not like a porcelain doll.
Right.
And my sobriety is not that fragile.
Right.
If it is, I need to stay home, you know, or like figure that shit out. So yeah, I mean, I think maybe asking one question might be okay, but don't treat me like a delicate flower. Don't make my sobriety center stage when it doesn't need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm an adult, I'll figure out how to meet my needs. And if I can't, I'll leave. So the overly cautious can feel, I think, a bit overwhelming, or like you're being talked down to, you know.
Yeah, I feel like this one has a lot of nuance because it depends. It's
Yeah.
if I'm drinking, if I'm not a problem drinker and you and I go out and I say in front of our whole group of friends, like, oh, is this bothering you, Lori? Like, yeah, I'd expect you to be annoyed. However, if I said maybe on the way into the restaurant, is it going to bother you if everybody's drinking? Totally different. Totally different scenario, you know? But I think it's the way in which somebody, like, you almost feel called out because you're like, no, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Even if I did, I wouldn't say so now. Like, you bitch.
Yeah, and as a people pleaser, I like bend over backwards to make other people comfortable. So even if I were super uncomfortable, I don't want to be called out about it. I want to like smooth everything over and make sure everyone else is comfortable.
Yes.
So I think there's a level of condescension sometimes in that question. Like that part's annoying to me, the condescending part.
Yeah, don't you wish like in another universe you could be like, well, are you gonna get super fucking hammered again? Because then, yeah, I guess I do have a problem with you drinking tonight.
Right. But you don't want the answer to that question.
Right.
Don't even ask.
Right.
No.
Yeah. But then on the other end of the spectrum, there's the people that this episode just be Kate is sensitive. Then on the other end of the spectrum are the people who don't acknowledge it at all. Where they'll be like, oh, I need a drink, you know, and you're like,
yeah,
do you though? And it's like you're not even in the room, and or you like don't get invited because you don't drink. That's annoying to me.
Yeah, I think that was on my list of annoying things too. Is when your friends can only think of things to do that require alcohol, and it's like there are other opportunities for us to socialize. They don't all have to be at a bar or at a restaurant with drinks. Get a little bit creative and maybe give your liver a break. We don't have to. Every experience doesn't have to be centered around alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we do something else, please? Yeah. Okay. Oh, this annoys me. That there's no place to go except for bars for nightlife. Like, I feel weird taking. I don't really want to be in a bar in general. However, like if there's like dancing or socializing, that's the only place to go. Then I feel weird being there, taking up a bar stool and not drinking alcohol because I feel like the bartender's mad because I'm not like a real patron. Even if I'm like tipping, let's say the same amount, I still feel like uncomfortable on some level.
Yeah, I think that goes back to you bartending for so long. You know that those people are just trying to make a living.
Yeah.
And you don't want to take up that seat.
Right.
But yeah, there are a frustrating lack of evening opportunities, I think. And I mean, you're in New York. Well, you're close to New York. And if you can't find it there, I'm sure shit not find it in the Midwest.
I mean, I don't know how hard I'm looking. I'm sure there are, you know, but like, yeah, sometimes I watch like, you know, I was watching like Mrs. Maisel and I'm like, I mean, it seems like she had like 1 million comedy shows to go to, and I don't know how much that costs back in 19 whatever, but it seemed like there was like this, it seems like there's like a bustling night scene in New York, and I like very deeply miss that on some level of like the hustle and bustle of it all, and I feel like the only option is like bars and clubs, and it makes me a little bit uncomfortable to think about, like, especially going with like people I don't know, or even going alone. Like I would never go to a bar by myself at this point, but how do you like engage with nightlife? I don't know. If you're not spending a ton of money, like, yes, there are Broadway shows, there are things to do and spend money and like events to go to, sure. However, if you're just like when you were younger, you would just go meet somebody for a drink, and now I feel like, you know, in theory I could go meet somebody for a drink, but are they going to be mad that I'm not actually drinking? I don't know. Are they going to feel like they're going out if I'm not drinking?
Yeah.
I think that's the part of me that's annoyed with myself that I can't moderate, because those people could go out and have a couple drinks and then go home and like live a normal life, and I never could. Like you could just meet for one or two and then go home, and that was like never my vibe.
No. What is that like? I don't understand. My brain can't compute that.
Yeah. And so where's the in-between as a sober person? You know, do you just, I guess, suck it up and go have the mocktail. Like, am I getting dressed up and going into Manhattan for a mocktail? Like, I don't know. That's where I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what is, I don't know, I guess.
Yeah. I am 100% comfortable at home on my couch, not going anywhere. So
Me
I
too,
don't
but
have
I
that
miss,
struggle.
like, what I love about living here is like that there's always something going on and like people dressed up and people, I love the hustle bustle, but I can't partake in the drank of it all.
Right.
How do I bustle, Lori?
That's the
How
true
do we
question.
bustle?
How do we bustle?
Okay. Oh, okay. Last thing. I'll make this one kind of short. I still am annoyed by like the way the AA crowd makes you feel like you have to be like sitting on the edge of your sober seat or you may fall off into a vat of alcohol and like lose it all. That annoys me. Because I don't feel like I'm like 5 minutes away from a drink all the time. There are times, sure, but they're few and far between.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time that I felt truly at risk of drinking. It's just not on my radar. And so that kind of fear-based mentality, I think, is not helpful for me personally.
It's a bit ghoulish.
Yeah.
I mean, and the fact that it's all connected to God too, like God's the one keeping me sober. It's like, nah, I'm doing that. I'm keeping me sober.
I've done a lot of work, God, but thanks.
Yeah. Okay, the last thing that's on the list is guilt. Guilt. What about, okay, so sometimes, I mean, we talked a little bit about this before the episode that we both feel a little bit guilty about where our bottom was.
Yeah.
And
I guess that's another one that makes me feel like.
So I guess what is annoying about this is that, I don't know, is it that you feel like you can't relate or you feel like your problem isn't as big as theirs? I feel like that could be an issue, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a competition.
Right.
But I didn't have a dramatic rock bottom.
Right.
And
thankfully.
Yeah, I certainly could have. I mean, it was on the horizon. It was coming. I just didn't get there yet. I mean, I think the word yet is
I feel like that's also subjective. It's like
True.
Like my bottom was pretty fucking crazy for me at times,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think my family might think it was plenty crazy,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, I think there is sometimes an element of guilt, either that your rock bottom wasn't bad enough or that you're not feeling the daily struggle. Like it's not a grind to stay sober, because I don't feel that way. It's not a struggle for me. And most days I don't even really think about it. And so when I hear from people who are really fighting a good fight and trying so hard, and then I feel guilty that I'm not struggling, I guess.
And I feel like the annoying thing also with that is that it sends a misleading message to people who are the problem gray area drinkers that are on the fence about thinking about getting sober because they might not feel like they're bad enough, and it might keep them in a cycle that's not healthy for them, right? And like I remember I went to an AA meeting and I like got asked out for pie afterwards, and I was like, okay, I'm doing the thing, I'm doing all the things, I'm saying yes to things with these fucking strangers, and we're like eating the fucking pie, and it was with a guy and it was like a guy and a girl, and she was a little bit younger, like maybe a little bit younger than me at the time, and you could tell that he really liked her, like he had like his attention was on her. And I remember thinking like, I thought we were just like having pie and like we were gonna connect and I don't know, whatever, change phone numbers or whatever they tell you is supposed to happen. And I remember him saying like, her problem is really bad. And I remember being like, well, I don't fucking know this lady, and I came because I thought my problem was fucking pretty bad too, and that's why I'm here. They tell you to come here, and then they tell you people are going to ask you out for fucking pie and give you a phone number, and I'm doing the things, and now you're telling me that it's not that big of a deal, and I think it's a big deal, Larry, or whoever you are, because I'm in Manhattan on a Saturday, fucking chain smoking cigarettes, feeling like an idiot outside this, basement, and you're telling me that this isn't that big of a deal, and I'm annoyed because I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, there's not a hierarchy, you know, like nobody gets to say our problem's worse than yours. You don't fucking know what anybody's going through, how they've gotten to where they are now. So
yes,
yeah, fuck that guy and his pie.
Yes,
he was probably trying to hook up with her.
Yeah. And I remember feeling like very alienated and like, I don't know, I think you can just keep people in bad places. And, you know, I guess I'm quote unquote fortunate enough because I have all of my faculties and nothing like legally terrible happened to me or medically terrible happened to me at times. And so for that, I'm grateful. But like, my problem's not any better or worse than yours.
Right.
That's annoying. Larry. I've given a lot of fake names today. Lindsay, Larry.
I know.
Susan.
I've had trouble keeping up, but
I think that's it. I think those are all my annoyances. Those are all my grievances. What about you? Do
I
you
know.
have any
I
more?
feel lighter that we've released all these.
Me too. I
into
hope
the
this helps
universe.
somebody at the beginning because I wish somebody would have pointed out all these things to me because it was like once you encountered that thing and overcame it, you're like, oh, I fucking made it out. And you didn't know it was
There's a
annoying. It just
few
made you
more.
feel
Hold
shitty,
on.
like fucking insecure. And now I'm like, no, that's not insecure. I'm annoyed. Like, you're wrong, not me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you're in Seltzer Squad 2.0, I have to ask all of my friends and guests, what should I do? Where do you think this should go? Where should I take the podcast? What do you want from me?
Seltzer Squad 2.0.
What do you want from me?
I love it all. I loved everything with Jess. I've loved your interviews.
Has there been anything
alone.
annoying?
No. I mean, probably wouldn't have stuck with it if I were annoyed. I mean, I've enjoyed it.
Okay.
I like when you expose me to things I haven't heard about, like people, like the sober gay I didn't know about. So, you know, new people, new topics, I think are good. Hot mess hoedowns will always be my favorite. Shout out to the
Oh my god.
succulent eater.
Oh my god, no wait. You texted me
The
about
crowd favorite.
What did you text me about recently? I have an update. That's why I'm
Oh, Grandpa.
Yes. Hold on.
Yeah.
Grandpa
Oh my
Kink. Okay, Grandpa Kink wrote back. I think she wanted us to call her Stacy. Okay, Stacy wrote back. If you guys don't remember Grandpa Kink, you got to go listen to the last Hot Mess episode. Stacy writes, y'all read it. It sounds so much better / worse on the podcast. By the way, I'm over 1.5 years sober. So that's a happy ending for Stacy.
Yeah, that I forgot about that one. That was a good one too.
Okay, we'll keep the hot mess hoedowns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing I think is I like interviewing people, meeting new people. I still like it all. I mean, I hope everybody's that's listening is still interested. And if you're not interested and listening, why? And I hope to answer more questions. I feel like as I as my therapy hat comes on more, I'm like better at giving answers or like more informed answers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is I think sometimes I go back and listen to older ones and I recently heard the one where you announced it. I know I'm a stalker. It's okay. I'm your biggest fan. It's not weird. Single white female. It's fine. But I went back and I listened to an old one and you're like, I think I'm going to go to school to be a therapist. And fast forward, here you are.
Here we are.
So I think it's been fun
11,000 years later, here we are.
Right? Yes. Yep. A brief moment in time. But I think it's been fun to see you evolve and see your answers become more nuanced and you're clearly bringing like some clinical knowledge and experience. So I think that is pretty cool that you're not just, I mean, there are a lot of just dipshits on the internet building out advice and you're not one of them anymore. Now you have like,
I've evolved. Look at me.
So I think that'll be fun to see where you go with that. And as you become more
I appreciate that.
In the therapeutic world.
I'm scared, but whatever. It's only the internet forever.
Right.
All right. So Lori, thanks again for coming on the squad today. And I want you to tell us all about your new podcast.
Yes, thank you. So it's called Get Connected AF, and I do it with my friend Angie. And the two of us met through a sober slumber party, which is something else I do. But Get Connected AF is pretty much where you'll find it's the website, it's the podcast, it's a Facebook group. So check it out.
Tell us more about the podcast though, and maybe all of it. If you haven't heard my interview with Lori, please go back and listen. That's where she talks about the beginning. Episode 185.
Or is it 180? I don't know. Look for it.
Episode 1 something, and that's where she talks about sort of the inception of all this. But the podcast is new.
Yeah. The podcast is new. We started it. I think we are getting close to our 20th episode. So it's new and we don't have a lot of listeners, but we just talk about sober stuff, issues that arise. Angie has 4 years sober and I have 3. So we're not completely new, but we're not, too entrenched in it. So yeah, we're just trying to connect people and share tools and resources and just be honest about the journey like you and I have been today. There, it's not all pink cloud. And so we're trying to be honest about the experience and what to expect and have some fun while we're at it.
I love that. And for those of you that don't know, Lori organizes sober retreats. So you can go to her. Is it the same website? GetConnectedAF.com?
GetConnectedAF.com. Okay. Yeah. Then there's a tab for sober slumber party.
Okay. You can sign up for her sober slumber party. She's going to be rolling out some new dates for the new year. And if you guys stay tuned for the podcast, we might have some exciting news to share.
We might.
Mm-hmm. So stay tuned, guys. All right. Well, until we meet again. That's cool to say now because we actually have met.
Yeah. IRL. Are you keeping the same clothes? Are you mixing it up?
Yeah.
Keeping it?
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Okay.
Because also, it leaves the door open for Jess until we meet again, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not goodbye. It's see you later.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, one more time.
Okay, until we meet again.
Don't forget.
Be nice to yourself and don't forget. It's okay. No one's
hangovers.
Hangovers suck. They still suck.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Every review helps other listeners find us. Music by Dead Go West. Art by Kate Sander. For show notes and resources, check out seltzersquad.com.